Percent actual and theoretical yield. When we're talking about percent yield, we're talking about the percent of the product that we actually get in our reaction. Actual yield is the amount we get when we do this in the lab, and theoretical yield is what we've already been doing. The theoretical yield of a substance is when we do our stoichiometry, like we did in this very first worksheet. It's that amount that we should get when the reaction is over. So when we did this one, we should get 1.55 grams of H2O when this reaction is finished using 3.44 grams of O2. So when you do your stoichiometry and you get your answer, that is the theoretical yield. In theory, that's the amount I should get when the reaction is done. However, in actuality, it doesn't typically turn out that way. All right, there are a lot of things that could be going on. We could have a spill, an incomplete reaction, an incomplete separation, means it doesn't separate as much as we think it should. All right, it's not going to separate all the way out. Or a lot of other things. You know, there are many things in the lab that keep your theoretical yield from being your actual yield. So percent yield means you're going to take how much you actually got in your reaction, divide it by what you should have gotten, your theoretical yield, times it by 100 to get percent. So that's what we're going to do in this worksheet here. So in this case it says, I began this reaction with 20 grams of lithium hydroxide. What's my theoretical yield of lithium chloride? So we're going to do out the stoichiometry for that problem. So in this case, we're going to start with 20 grams of lithium hydroxide, which is right here, LiOH. And then we're going to do out our stoichiometry problem to solve for the amount that would be formed. And so what I'm going to do, 1 mole of LiOH. I've actually already made this answer key, so I'm going to cheat here and just use my numbers. I know you guys can add up Li plus O plus H, and you're going to get 23.948 grams of LiOH. Then we compare our moles to moles. So there is 1 mole of LiOH in this reaction, and we're going to get 1 mole of lithium chloride, which is what we're trying to find. And then in 1 mole of lithium chloride, we would have 48.394 grams of lithium chloride. And I know that by adding up Li and Cl. When I do this math out, I'm going to get 847.88 over 23.948, which will give me 35.405 grams of lithium chloride. And that's my theoretical yield. All right, that's in theory how much I should get when this reaction is finished. But it says here I actually produced 6 grams of lithium chloride. What is my percent yield? So my actual amount is 6 grams. This is my actual yield. So remember from your reading material, you take your actual yield divided by theoretical yield times 100. So my actual yield was 6 grams. We're going to divide that by my theoretical yield, which is 35.405 grams, and we do that times 100. And what we're going to get when we do this is 16.9% yield. So we only got 16.9% of what we expected. And this sometimes does happen in the lab. So when you go down here and you're doing these problems, figure out, is it asking you for theoretical yield? If it is, do out the stoichiometry. If it asks you for percent yield, then take your actual divided by theoretical and then times 100 to get your percent. Now on 2B, it's a little bit trickier because it says I got a percent yield of 75%. How many grams of water did I make? So what this is telling me is you're going to have your theoretical yield here. All right, so you will have a number down here from part A. So whatever number you get here, you're going to put that number in right there. But you don't know the actual yield. How many grams of water did I make? Well, I don't know that. So you're going to set that equal to 75%, which is the same thing as saying 0.75. Remember, I had to do times 100 to get this, so divided by 100 gets me back to that 0.75. So take your answer for this one, put it in here, and then solve for x. All right, and that will tell you the actual yield, since the actual yield is what goes on top of your fraction when you solve for percent yield. So your answer for A goes here, there's your unknown, and it equals 0.75, and you'll solve for x to get the answer for part B. The rest of them are more straightforward. It asks what's the percent yield, what's my theoretical yield, what's my theoretical yield, and what's my percent yield. So again, just do like we did up here on number 1 to solve the rest of these, and if you do still have any questions, please come ask.